This is Outnumbered. I'm Harris Faulkner here with my co-host Kayleigh McEnany. Also joining us today, Rosanna Scotto is here, Fox 5 New York anchor and host of the Underground Economy on Fox Nation. Lisa Booth is here, Fox News political analyst, and David Asman, Fox business anchor. CENTCOM has released some brand new video. Let's take a look. It says thousands of Iranian military targets have been struck by U.S. forces to neutralize threats posed by the Iranian terrorist regime, now and into the future, and giving an update on more of the damage the U.S. has done to Iran.
Here you see a photo from March 1st of a naval drone storage facility located near the Strait of Hormuz. This is the same location 8 days later, completely destroyed. Next, here's a photo taken of an attack drone production factory in Tehran on March 5th. Here's that same factory 6 days later after a devastating barrage of U.S. airstrikes. U.S. and partner strikes are doing exactly what they are intended to do, deliver on very clear military objectives to eliminate Iran's ability to project power against Americans and against its neighbors.
Well, the fighting is playing out in the Middle East. The U.S. is also on alert for terror threats here on American soil after several attacks in just the last few days. And we are now learning the Lebanese national who rammed his truck into that synagogue in Michigan last week was the brother of Hezbollah commander. And we know that from the Israeli Defense Force. Our FBI is also investigating to confirm on its own. That commander was responsible for, and this is a quote, managing weapons operations within a specialized branch of a unit that is responsible for launching hundreds of rockets toward Israeli civilians throughout the war. He was killed in a strike last week. All of that from the IDF. The head of a Tel Aviv-based security company is arguing in the Wall Street Journal, terrorists are now often made in the USA. He writes, the challenge facing Western governments today is therefore not a rebuilt caliphate abroad. It is a radicalization unfolding quietly inside their own societies. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy.
I think Democrats are going to come to their senses. Look at Senator Slotkin from Michigan, where there was a synagogue attack. She voted every time against funding DHS. And once the threat to her community was real from radicals, now she says, let's open up DHS. And I think it begs the question, are Democrats waiting for Americans to get hurt, to get killed, before they actually put your security before those who have come to this country unlawfully and illegally? I hope that's not their position, but we can get to a better place if they would just come to their senses and negotiate after they open it up.
So did you catch that? You know what we're up against, and then the Secretary of Transportation explaining there what's happening on Capitol Hill. We do it that way because they're connected. You leave us laid bare at a time like this, Democrats and Congress. And David, that's exactly what it is, because it's going to take 60 votes to push this forward. They didn't pass last week on the test vote. Right. We're now in the 5th week of this shutdown. Democrats are thirsty for pain, or what is this?
But should it take a terrorist attack in your district to get people to vote for that? I mean, what kind of nonsense? Government is supposed to prevent bad things from happening to Americans, not just be reactive after it happens in their neighborhood. I mean, that's the whole point of our representative process that we have here. It's only been 2 weeks, but we have done so much, as you said in the first part of your intro there, to completely decimate for years and years both the nuclear and conventional weaponry of a very dangerous terrorist state. And let's be clear, that's where the terrorism that's happening here begins from. It begins from Iran. They're the ones who started Hezbollah and the other people that are causing us trouble right now. We have also taken out their leadership, command and control. That's so important in warfare. Not only the hard weaponry that you have to take out, but the command and control process. What haven't we done? We haven't seen the popular uprising that we were hoping for. That can take years to happen. We saw it in the old Soviet Union when we spent years subsidizing and giving help to organizations like Solidarity in Poland and other places in the old Eastern Europe that was controlled by the USSR. It could take years for that to happen. And in the meantime, we are going to have to recognize that these sleeper cells, many of which, and sometimes they're just lone wolves, but all of those folks that were let in during the Biden administration are here. They have this grievance against the United States that they didn't have before we attacked Iran. And you had a great former radical on, Kayleigh, about that process. So they have a grievance and they have an ideology that we're going to have to deal with because of what happened with Biden. But we have made great progress so far.
Well, look, I would only say this. Their grievance is that they hate us. And I don't really think that there's a date on the calendar, because they could literally go thousands of years and still be at the point where they are now. I mean, they have been. So I'm not sure that we can generationally change them, but we certainly can take some things out of their hands, like oil and other things that we're so dependent upon as a country. So, Lisa, this idea, though, of radicalization, these are naturalized citizens. I mean, from what I'm reading, depending on what they did, we can take that naturalization away from them and send them back from which, their origin countries through their ancestry, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, I disagree with the Wall Street Journal article that they're being created in the United States. They're being imported into the United States. And that's the problem, as you pointed out, with the Michigan synagogue terrorist from Lebanon, brother Hezbollah commander. Why is he in the United States? That's a basic question. Unfortunately, it's not as easy to denaturalize some of these individuals, which is why we see people like Senator Eric Schmidt out with the Scam Act to make that easier to denaturalize and deport some of these bad actors with people who have ties to terrorists. To David's point about the success in this mission so far from the Trump administration, I mean, just go through the stacks. But I mean, pretty much by every measure, the regime's ability to defend itself is being systematically destroyed. Over 7,000 targets, ballistic missiles from Iran down by 90%, drone attacks down by 95%, air superiority over large swaths of Iran. Also, this is something we've been gaming out for decades now, the United States. We've been at war with Iran. They've been targeting Americans for 47 years. Also, just look at the precision of going in and taking out Maduro, or even with Israel, the pager, the precision with that. We've thought this through. So I feel fully confident in our military as well as President Trump. And then the last thing I'll point out, and I think the brilliance of President Trump, which has been his mission since the first administration, the second administration, is tying our economies with some of these Gulf nations. Instead of Obama and Biden and coming in and talking about human rights or trying to change the way that some of these individuals rule in their nations, he's saying, hey, look, let's be business partners. And we're seeing that come to fruition with even the Gulf Cooperation Council issuing a joint statement going after Iran as well.
Yeah, and, Kayleigh, it isn't just where we are in this moment. It's all the moments that led up to this with President Trump meeting with those Gulf states. I mean, on that wide tour that he did just not even a year ago.
Yeah, let me give you a quote to show you just how much this is thought out. You're exactly right, Lisa. Going back to 1988. President Trump has made comments about his strategy on Iran. He hit Karg Island on Friday. That is extremely significant. 94% of crude exports out of Iran are processed on this little island. He hit it. He took out, I believe it was 90 targets, an extraordinarily successful operation. But in 1988, he said they, meaning Iran, have been beating us psychologically, making us look like a bunch of fools. One bullet shot at one of our men or ships, and I'd do a number on Karg Island. I'd go in and take it. That's 1988. That's the year I was born, and President Trump was thinking this out. And what we see on Karg Island, very significant. As I noted, it's called the Achilles heel of Iran. In fact, The Guardian says it's Iran's biggest asset. It's Iran's biggest liability. And now CENTCOM this morning saying 100 Iranian ships are at the bottom of the sea. There are 6,000 combat flights that have been taken, and there are 50,000 troops deployed abroad. I just want to thank our troops for a moment, because as these stories are coming out about some of those who have passed, it is absolutely heartbreaking. And just want to take a moment to acknowledge Major Alex Kleiner, one of the 6 unfortunately lost in that refueling accident. He had a 2-year-old, he has 7-month-old twins, and these stories are heartbreaking. These young men and women are the best among us. Another person who passed, unfortunately, a mother as well. They're the best. They make our country the greatest in the world, and I want to thank them today as these stories come out.
May they never be forgotten, all of them. And we will say their names. we will say their names.
And I was going to also say thank you to the men and women of all the police departments all over the country, because we are dealing with a national security crisis right now. You talked about Michigan. What about New York City? Less than 10 days ago, the NYPD thwarted a terrorist attack.
All right.
Is the president here?
One second, Rosanna. We have just received this from President Trump. He's announcing now, and we want to get this in because we are inside of a 2-minute warning for the President of the United States. But moments ago, President Trump announced his chief of staff, Susie Wiles, has been diagnosed with early-stage breast cancer. He adds that her prognosis is excellent. And he says Susie Wiles decided to take on this challenge immediately as opposed to waiting, and that she will be working virtually full-time while she undergoes treatment. A place setting for Susie was just added at the President's East Room event, right next to President Trump, and we are watching that picture live. So we will get back to our previous conversation in a moment. And Rosanna, I would only step in for the breaking news.
Of course, and
but
we
as
wish you
we're
the very
watching
best.
this, we know that the President is getting ready to come up and talk about a whole host of issues. But to me, David Asman, this moment is particularly different because it's personal. It's personal for the nation, too. I mean, this has been a cohesive team, the communications person, that Susie Wiles, the leadership from her inside the White House, the whole nation has seen as she sits beside as chief of staff for the president.
Well, since her prognosis is excellent, which is wonderful to hear, and the fact that they say she's going to stay virtually in touch during the whole thing, hopefully it won't. I mean, the primary good news there is her prognosis, but also she will be there to help through going into the midterm elections, in which she's got a very good, Kayleigh knows this more than anybody else, very good ability to deal with the upcoming elections. Without her, President Trump and the Republicans in general, I think, would have a much more difficult time.
Susie Wiles, early stage breast cancer, excellent diagnosis.
Yeah, thank goodness early stage is in there. She joins a lot of women in this country. 1 in 5 women in America will be diagnosed with breast cancer. We are in this together as women, and Susie Wiles, I have no doubt, will be an advocate now after this. We know many young women in this building affected by breast cancer, and I say young women because some of them are very young. She's an extraordinary person. She has been by the president's side, and having been in Trump administration 1, Trump administration 2, this woman is leading. You hear very, very few leaks out of the White House.
Right.
The cabinet is all in order. She's done an extraordinary job pushing through legislation, executive orders. She's the president's right hand, clearly his steady hand. I have no doubt she'll make it through this. She is a fighter, but an example to women everywhere. 1 in 5 women. She joins that group of strong, heroic warriors. And I say that having passed many of these women in Moffitt Cancer Center, where I underwent my mastectomy for preventative treatment. I didn't have cancer, but took that action preventatively. An amazing woman, a fighter, and now joins a great group of strong women in this country.
All right, we are very close to hearing from the president. Rosanna, I want to come back to you. That place setting has been set for Susie Wiles to sit right next to President Trump as he holds a news conference and more today.
Obviously, it's a show of force that she is going to be fine, which makes everybody feel a lot more comfortable that going forward. And let's face it, women are being diagnosed earlier in breast cancer stages, which is fantastic because, I mean, 20 or 30 years ago, I remember I had a good friend of mine who was diagnosed. She did not make it past a few months, sadly. But now, early stages, you can literally, Susie will be back at the table in 2 days.
Amen.
Like, literally, you can have a lumpectomy and be back at work the next day.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kayleigh McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.